few examples. So, I can dream of flying through time and space in a blue box with a madman or a madwoman who is 2,000 years old, exploring planets near and far, times distant, future, distant past. I can dream all of that. I can imagine that. Doesn't mean I can do it. And it's not my fault I can't do it. Now, I know lots of people can dream this. We've had 52, 53, 55 years. 55 years, if my maths is correct. About 55 years of TV series, Doctor Who, based around that entire premise. Somebody dreamt that as a premise for a story. We can dream of there are children around the world growing up with Doctor Who dream of stepping into that TARDIS and travelling with the Doctor. Heck, there are adults around the world who, if they're honest, dream the same thing. And really wish they could do it. It's like, yeah, imagine being able to do that. They can imagine it, they can dream it. Doesn't mean they can do it. Yeah? Someone could imagine walking barefoot on the moon without the need for a spacesuit. Doesn't mean they can do it. Can't be done. Basic physics, biology combine to mean we cannot do that. It cannot be done, even though we could dream it. From time to time, I have dreams, and I know most people have these dreams, of being able to fly, unaided. Doesn't mean I can do it. I can vividly remember how it often happens in that dream, when it's happened throughout the years. Walk along the corridor, and then basically just sort of jump up and lean like that, and fly along. I can picture that very, very clearly. That's how it happens every time in a dream. Can I do it? Of course not. If I were to attempt to do that, well, boom, fall flat on my face, injuring me, hopefully injuring nothing more than my pride. But it cannot be done. We cannot fly unaided. People have dreamt of unaided flight for centuries. Still can't do it. Now, I know what you're thinking. And some people say, but those are absurd. It obviously doesn't mean that. But wait. We're told, if you can dream it, you can be it. If you can conceive it, you can be it. You can do anything you want to. Anything. Clearly, we cannot. Clearly, there are limitations. Now, that gets us into a whole nother argument where people say, but there are no limitations. They're all just fake limitations of your own mind. You need to clear those limiting beliefs. All right, tell me, what is the limiting belief I need to clear which will enable me to fly unaided? What is the limiting belief I need to clear which will enable me to set foot in a real TARDIS with the Doctor and travel through time and space? Because I'm listening. If you can tell me the limiting belief I need to clear that will enable me to achieve those, I'm yours. It's not possible. And that's the point. People who trot out this trite nonsense, you can do anything you want to. You can be anything you want to be. No, that is not true. It is unhelpful. Now, I did mention that there is kernel of truth in this. And there is. And that kernel of truth is very powerful, very inspiring and very helpful. And when we couple it up with a little bit more, which I'll give you in just a few seconds, a few moments, it becomes a very powerful driver. But it is not that you can do anything. If you can dream it, you can be it. That is nonsense. What is the kernel of truth? Well, Alexander the Great hit upon it. He is said to have said that if a thing is humanly possible, consider it to be within your grasp. If a thing is humanly possible, consider it to be within your grasp. Now we're getting much, much closer to reality. Because when he said that, he recognised there are limits to what we can do. We are not unlimited. We do not have unlimited potential. We cannot do literally anything, despite what some may want to try and claim. Yes, it's a nice fantasy to believe we could do anything we want to do. The reality is we can't. However, that does not mean that we can't do a lot of things that we currently believe we can't. Alexander the Great puts it brilliantly. If a thing is humanly possible, consider it to be within your grasp. What he's done there, very cleverly, is reminded us that we can achieve a lot of things. We can achieve a lot more than we currently give ourselves credit for being able to achieve. The key is to make sure it's something that's humanly possible. Now, I spoke many episodes back around creating goals. When we were talking about nailing your New Year's resolutions, we talked about creating goals. And the second component in the goal creator system, the second component is realistic. And that's what this is about. It's about making your goal realistic. That's where we need to focus. Now, obviously, setting foot on the moon unaided without a spacesuit or anything like that, on just the moon without any other stuff there, obviously it's not realistic, which is why we can't achieve it. Setting foot in the TARDIS with the Doctor and going on fantastic adventures in real life is not realistic. That's why we can't do it. However, if it's humanly possible, then it can be realistic and it is possible for us to achieve it. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean it's easy. And there may be other limitations in there. Or we may have to change the way in which we perceive this goal. For example, could I run a marathon? Could I run the London Marathon? Is it humanly possible? It is humanly possible to run the London Marathon. So, in theory, yes, I could run the London Marathon. Now, taking a step back, I am not exactly what you would call fit and athletic. I can outwalk pretty much everyone I know, but I can't really run very far. So I would need to do a lot of training in order to complete the London Marathon. Is it possible for someone in my shape to do that sort of training and to run the London Marathon? Yes, that is humanly possible. So again, it could be a realistic goal for me. So it would be possible. Now, factor in the third bit, I don't want to do training. I don't want to do all that sort of training. Now does it become possible? Yeah, humanly far less possible. So, if I were to set the goal of running the London Marathon, it is humanly possible, provided I take the steps necessary to enable me to be in a position to be able to do it. So it is humanly possible. Is it humanly possible for me to be able to do it without doing any training or preparation at all? That's a whole different thing, and that becomes far less realistic. The limitation there isn't that it's not possible to run the London Marathon. The limitation isn't that it's not possible for me to run the London Marathon. The limitation is purely around my mindset, that I don't have the mindset of someone who wants to do all the training to do that. That's where we now start to see the difference between what's possible and not possible. A goal for me to run the London Marathon is eminently possible. It's not going to happen because I don't want to do it. And me not doing it wouldn't be because it's an impossible goal, it's because I'm not doing what it takes to achieve that goal. Which does mean that if I entered the London Marathon and failed to run it, it would be my fault because I hadn't done what it takes to achieve this. But running that marathon is entirely humanly possible. Therefore, it is within my grasp if I'm willing to do what it takes to achieve it. It's the same for any goal that we pick. Is it humanly possible? Is it humanly possible to set foot on the moon unaided without spacesuit and live? No. Is it humanly possible to walk down the corridor road, jump, lean forward and start flying unaided? No, not humanly possible. Therefore, we can't do it. Is it humanly possible for me to run the London Marathon? Yes, it is humanly possible. Tens of thousands of people run the London Marathon every year and many other marathons around the world, so it is humanly possible. So, when we look at this phrase, you can do anything you want. If you can dream it, you can be it. No, that's nonsense. We need to put in the caveat. that it must be humanly possible. It must be a realistic goal. So, as Alexander the Great said, if a thing is humanly possible, consider it to be within your grasp. He didn't say you can do absolutely anything you can dream of, unlike the nonsense that some people spit out. You can do anything. If you can dream it, you can be it. Nonsense. Utter nonsense. If it's humanly possible, you too could achieve it under the right circumstances, with you putting in the right sort of work and effort. So yeah, we can do many things. We cannot do anything, though. And it becomes a really trite saying, and it becomes a really unhelpful saying. You can do anything you want, anything you dream of, which means if you haven't achieved what you're dreaming of, it's your fault. Not always the case. Very often it is, but it isn't always the case. And to tell people we can do anything we want to do is unhelpful. Might as well just shut up, because it's not helping anyone. You see, what's happened is people have taken the basic kernel. If it's humanly possible, consider it to be within your grasp. In other words, if it's possible to do it, if it's possible for someone to do it, it's possible for you to do it. Not necessarily easy, but possible. So they've taken that, and because that doesn't sound grand enough, they've inflated it up. If you can dream it, you can be it. Live your dreams. Do whatever you dream of. You can do anything you want. And they've rendered what was a very helpful, inspirational, and at the same time realistic expression, because it contains the inspiration. If it's humanly possible, it's within your grasp. It also contains a check within there, if it's humanly possible. And people have just discarded that, thrown it out, and rendered the whole thing useless, worthless, pointless. So no, you can't do anything that you put your mind to. Sorry, you can't. However, if it's humanly possible, if it's possible for another human to do it, then it is indeed possible for you to do it. It's all about checking, is it realistic? Now, that's not an excuse. That's not a justification for saying, oh, well, I can't do it because and coming out with loads of reasons why you can't do it. That's not what I'm saying at all. Because anything you think of, you could come out with 100 reasons why you couldn't do it. None of which would be true reasons. They're excuses rather than reasons. What I am saying, though, is make sure it is something which is realistic. Is it possible for this to be done? So before you say, I can achieve this, is it possible for it to be achieved? Then, if it is possible, go right ahead. If it's not possible, if it's not humanly possible to be achieved, then perhaps reconsider, what do I need to adjust in order to make it humanly possible? Or, there are some things which people had considered to be impossible, which were achieved. The 4-minute mile, running a mile in under 4 minutes, was at one point considered impossible by many, but not by everyone. It was considered humanly possible by some. And as we now know, it is very much possible. Even though a lot of people thought it wasn't, there were those who did believe it was humanly possible, and they had the reasons and the evidence to back them up with that. So when I say, is it humanly possible, doesn't mean, do other people think it's humanly possible? Could it be humanly possible? It's kind of what you're looking at here, yeah? Is it making sense? Certainly hope so. Because we're now going to move on to the third one. Ooh. This is going to be divisive. Things happen for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Now, this, like the previous one, is something which has grown up from a kernel of truth and has been just overblown, hyped up into utter nonsense, unhelpful nonsense. At its most basic, yes, everything happens for a reason. Causality, cause and effect. Something happens, causes something else to happen. Yeah, cause and effect. Things don't happen without